We've gone through some tough concepts in the previous parts. From value objects to an authentication facade, we have set up the core parts of getting the first feature of the app ready, that is signing in. Before moving any further to implementing the user interface, let's just step back and do things which may not be as glamorous as what we've done up until now, but are still important. For example, dependency injection and linting. Hello, welcome to Risokuru, where you are getting prepared for real app development so that you will get freelance clients or a job and be confident about the apps you build. So subscribe and hit the bell to join us on our quest for becoming in-demand Flutter developers. We have classes such as Firebase, auth, facade, and also our trusted sign-in form block all implemented, but when you look at it closely, their constructors accept Firebase auth, Google sign-in, and so on. The problem is that we are not passing these dependencies into the classes which we have created before in any sort of way. That's why we need to add dependency injection into our app, and we are going to use Injectable for that. And while we are going to be at it, we are also going to do some other maintenance work. As I've said, we are going to enable linting. For all this, we need to add packages into our app. So let's just open up pubspec YAML. And currently we have only the Firebase dependencies and also freezed. What we are going to do is to update anything which can be updated. So for example, we can update Firebase auth, Google sign-in, freezed, and also let's add Injectable for dependency injection, and also get it because Injectable actually works with get it, which is a service locator. And if you'd like to learn more about Injectable, you can check out the tutorial from the card in the corner. However, we are also going to go over the core things in this part. So once we have these packages and these are their current versions, get it is 4.01 and Injectable is 0.3.0, we also have to add an Injectable generator into the dev dependencies. And also we are going to add lint for linting, for enabling custom lint rules. Once we have all this done, we can save pubspec.yaml file. And by the way, you can always get the code from the link in the video description. And let's immediately jump into it. First up, we are going to set up linting because that's the easiest part of this tutorial series part. So we are going to go into the root folder of our project. So that's the root folder, and we're just going to add a new file which is going to be called analysis options YAML, and this is where we can enable custom analyzer errors and overall configure the things which we are going to see as errors and warnings in our app. Why are we doing that? Well, for example, even in the previous part, some of you asked me like, why on earth did I make some auth failures instantiated to be constant, while other auth failures, for example this one, are not constant, right? As you can see, the const keyword is missing from before this auth failure, right? And that's because I did not get warned that I am missing the const keyword. And what this will do is that the app will have worse performance because of it. Of course, this is an extreme example. Instantiating this canceled user auth failure multiple times is not going to be that much of a performance detriment. But when we get to building Flutter widgets and you have something inside a list view and you don't use the const constructor when you could, that will incur a rather serious performance drawback. So that's why constant constructors are important. And also there are other things which we are probably doing wrong and we are not even notified about that. because we did not enable the lint rules for that. So that's why we're gonna enable them, and our code base will become much cleaner and much healthier without any effort on our side, right? And also, if you would like to learn about linting in Dart in depth, you can also check out the tutorial from the card in the corner. But now let's go right into analysis options YAML, and we are going to enable or include actually another analysis options YAML file, which is coming from the lint package, which we have just added into our project. So let's go right over here, and we are going to say include, and we want to include package lint / analysis options YAML. And when we now come back to Firebase auth facade, what we will see is that indeed we are missing the const keyword, and now we are notified about that by this info message, by this underline, right? We see prefer const with constant constructors. And when I hit Control or Command and dot, I'm gonna be able to add const modifier automatically, just like that. Now that I save that, we are all done, and we did not even need to remember that, oh, we can use actually a constant constructor here. We got notified about that without any effort on our side. And this is all nice and dandy, but also we can make our analysis much more powerful by changing the severity of certain lint errors. Because, for example, when we are missing a return from a function, I'm just gonna make some sort of a function here, just make it up, string, some function, some f, and we don't return anything from it, we now get a warning, missing return. But it's not an error, as you can see, it's just highlighted in yellow, which means warning. So we are still going to be able to run the app just fine, even though we are missing a return. I think this is unacceptable. We should get a proper error message, just like when you assign a wrong type to something. So string x is equal to 1, 2, 3. This is an error, right? We want to get this sort of an error with red squiggly line, even when we don't return something from a function. And that's why we can change the severity of errors. So we are going to say analyzer errors, and we are going to say missing return. We can just copy this name here, missing return, paste it here, and we are going to say error. Now when we save our analysis options file, you can see that this warning, this yellow highlight, has just changed to be red highlight. So we are good to go, right? And similar to this, we're also going to enable missing required param and must be immutable to be errors. And as always, you can get this code from the link in the video description. Okay, so that is certainly nice to have, but we have not come into this part just to enable analysis options. What we also want to do is to get dependency injection going so that we can get instances of Firebase auth and Google sign-in, for example, into our classes. The way we are going to do that, as I have already outlined, is with Injectable right here. It uses getIt behind the scenes, and basically what it does is just generates code which is quite tedious to write manually for you. So basically Injectable is not a service locator in itself. It just has a bunch of annotations, and it has this Injectable generator, and it generates fully compliant getIt code for you. So let's get right into it. We are going to go over Injectable for the features we need, but if you want to learn about it in depth, as I said, you can open the information card from the corner of the video and check out the tutorial which I mentioned there. The way Injectable works is that you have to have one file created. For example, we can create it in the root of our project, just where main.dart lives. So let's go there. And we are going to say injection.dart. And inside of it, we are going to just create void configure injection. And we are going to be able to pass an environment string in there. So string env, and we are going to say init get it with a $sign before it. This function will be generated in just a little while. So init get it. Cool. We need to pass in get it and also environment, which is a named parameter, and pass in env. Cool. Now, before this can be generated, we also need to mark this function with injectable init, like that. And now we can open up our terminal, and we're gonna say Flutter pub run build runner watch delete conflicting outputs just to be safe. The code generation has just run, but I have noticed that, of course, our injection.dart file is in a suspicious location. It's definitely not inside the lib folder, so actually I told you a lie that you should put this into the root of your project. Of course, we need to put it into the lib folder. That's kinda expected when you are building a Flutter app. But anyway, now that it's in the proper location, the injection iconfig.dart file has been generated, and we can import init get it from it. And with this done, we are passing here some sort of a get it thing. And where are we going to get it from? Well, we can get it from get it, right? So we are going to create final get it, and it's going to be gotten from getIt.instance. All right, we're going to use this getIt instance, this global field, also throughout our app, should we need to resolve a type to its instance. Awesome, so we have just set up our injectable to always generate the registration of singletons and factories for us. Currently, the generated file does not contain anything useful because we have not annotated any classes just yet with injectable annotations so that they are gonna be registered on the getIt instance. And by the way, we are passing in a string environment. We are going to have actually only one environment in our app because we are not going to use any sort of continuous integration with multiple environments like development and production. We are not going to do any of that. But if you would like to learn more about setting up multiple environments when you are building a Flutter app, you can do so by checking out the tutorial from the card in the corner. All right, but now what do we even want to annotate? Well, we definitely want to annotate our sign in form block because this is expecting an iauth facade instance to be passed into it. So we can annotate it with @injectable. It's very simple, just say @injectable, and that's about it. Once we save that, because we have used the watch command, now what we are going to see in injection iconfig.dart is that we have registered the factory sign-in form block, and it's indeed passed in an iauth facade. But here's the problem. We are trying to resolve iauth facade type from the getIt service locator, but this iauth facade type is not registered anywhere. So what can we do about that? Well, of course, we also need to register our iauth facade, but we cannot just straight out register iauth facade because this is only an interface. So somehow we need to associate this interface iauth facade with its concrete implementation, the Firebase auth facade, which we have implemented in the previous part. And then whenever we request iauth facade, we should know that what we actually want is the concrete implementation of Firebase auth facade. What we can do is simple. We can go over to Firebase auth facade and just say that we want to make it a lazy singleton and register it as, and the type under which we want to register it is what? Well, of course, the iAuth facade, because this is the interface which it implements. Once we save that and go over to our generated injection file, we can see that we have first registered lazy singleton of type iAuth facade, but the actual instance which is hiding behind this iAuth facade is the concrete implementation Firebase auth facade. So that's cool. Sign-in form block will be able to be resolved just fine now. But again, we have arrived at another problem. Just like we did not have anything registered for iAuth facade just a little while ago, in the same way we do not have anything registered for Firebase auth and Google sign-in. Now, the problem with Firebase auth and Google sign-in classes and their respective objects is that whereas we could just annotate our Firebase auth facade, and we could also annotate sign-in form block because they are our classes, we own their source code, we cannot just go ahead and annotate Google sign-in class. I mean, Google sign-in is definitely not living inside our lib directory here, and we cannot just annotate any old library, right? We cannot just add an annotation to a third-party package. That's not possible. What we need to do instead is to create a module for Injectable, and that module will allow us to register even third-party dependencies, which we do not have direct access to when it comes to their source code. The module I'm talking about will be an abstract class. And where should we actually put this sort of an abstract class? Because we are doing domain-driven design with this sort of a folder layout. So into which folder should we put our Firebase Injectable module? I would say that the best place to put this module is inside the infrastructure folder under the core subfolder, and we are going to create a new file, Firebase Injectable module .dart. We're going to create an abstract class, Firebase Injectable module abstract, and we're going to mark it with @register module. And which sort of third-party dependencies we need to register here? Well, we need to register whatever is passed into Firebase auth facade, and that is Firebase auth and also Google sign in. So let's start off with Google sign in. So let's jump into the Firebase Injectable module, and we are just going to create Google sign in, get Google sign in, and we're going to return Google sign in. And let's also import Google sign in, and we are going to mark it with @lazy singleton again. And similarly, we are also going to have Firebase auth. This middle name should be with lower first letter because it's the name of the getter. But we cannot just instantiate Firebase auth like that. We need to get its singleton instance right here. We're gonna come back to this file for a little bit more explanation in just a while. But first up, let's check out the generated injection file. And we can see that it has indeed generated the Firebase auth and also Google sign-in registrations, and it has pulled them from our Firebase injectable module. And again, you could always write this get-it code fully yourself manually. You do not need to use injectable if you don't like it, but I think that it will really spare you of many hours of manual labor over time, because when you have larger projects, adding new dependencies and adding them to all the classes which they should be in is really a pain sometimes. So I think that Injectable, which is a code generator, will really just alleviate much of the pain which is associated with manual dependency injection in Flutter. So now that we know that these classes are generated, you may be thinking, but hey Matt, we have registered only Google sign-in and Firebase auth classes over here, so they all have something to do with only the authentication feature of the app. So why on earth did we put this Firebase injectable module into the core folder of infrastructure? Why did we not put it into the auth folder of infrastructure? Well, the answer is that I would say that these sort of injectable modules, which really have nothing else to do than to specify a few properties to get registered, they should be in the core folder, because what we are actually going to do in the later parts, and let's actually do it right now, is that we are of course also going to need to inject Firestore instance into certain classes. And this Firestore instance will also be specified right here. Lazy singleton, Firestore instance, and Firestore will be its name. Let's import Firestore, which we, by the way, cannot do because we do not have the proper library imported into pubspec YAML. So actually, let's not do that just yet. But as you can see, we are also going to just register Firestore in here, and you would do the same with any sort of Firebase related dependency which you have. So that's why we have put it into the core folder, because it really is not focused on any specific feature. You will just throw in here whatever you can which has something to do with Firebase. And by the way, when we open up the terminal again, you can see that everything has succeeded because we have everything properly mentioned here so that it can be injected even though it's a third-party module. But before we had this Firebase injectable module done, we received a message saying that right here, Firebase auth is not injectable and Google sign-in is not injectable. So it's really nice that the injectable generator is going to warn you about certain classes which you have probably forgotten to annotate. So when in doubt, always check out the terminal output of the injectable generator. That's cool, but we are not done yet with the injection completely, because what we need to do in addition to all this is to go to main.dart, and in addition to just running the app from the main function, we are also going to call configure injection. And we're going to pass in some sort of an environment string. Again, we don't even really need to worry about environments here, but just for the sake of example, we're going to pass in environment.prod, because we are basically always going to be running in production on the production dataset on Firestore. And this is actually the only environment we are going to have here. And this, by the way, environment class with the production constant is coming from injectable annotations. And now, whenever the app starts, the configure injection method will be called. And by the way, configure injection is indeed coming from our manually written injection.dart file. And this will in turn invoke the generated initGetIt method, which simply registers every possible dependency under the sun, which we have in our app, of course. And that's it for this part, where we have focused more on the maintenance side of things, which are still important, but maybe not as exciting as implementing an auth facade, but still without dependency injection, the app would be really interesting and really hard to write. And also without proper linting, we would get more errors than necessary, and we would not be able to catch them easily. So remember, you can always get the code from the link in the video description. And also, if you are serious about becoming a great Flutter developer who can build real apps for clients or at the job, go to flutter.education, link is also in the video description, to get the top curated Flutter news and resources aimed at improving your app development career. Over there you can also subscribe to my mailing list to get the best Flutter resources delivered weekly right into your inbox. And if you don't want to miss more tutorials like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also join the notification squad by hitting the bell button to make sure you grow your Flutter skills, because here on ResoCoder I am determined to provide you with the best tutorials and resources so that you will become an in-demand Flutter developer. Again, if this video helped you, give it a like and also share it with other people who are surely going to find it beneficial too if they find out how to do dependency injection with Injectable and also how to set up analysis options.yaml. Leave a comment if you have anything to say, and see you in the next video.